Okay, hi, my name is Valentina, and in this video I'm going to be answering some questions related to Mrs. Growell, teacher identity. That is the one that we see from that movie. So the first question is related to the personal dimension, and it asks like which factors within the personal dimension influence in the construction of her teacher identity. And I think that the main factor that influence in this construction is her principles and her beliefs about human rights. She had these activist ideas from her dad, and I think that this really influenced in the way that she became to think that we as human beings can fight for with our we deserve, and she brought these ideas into the classroom. Her ideals about human rights, what we deserve, and what we can do about our rights. And I also like this analogy she made among or between the Holocaust and the real life of these kids. Like she bring this success to the class, and I think I found this very interesting because we also it is part of our beliefs. These moments in history we believe in. For example, if I believe in segregation or if I am a feminist, it is part of what I am, of what I believe is right or wrong. So I found this very interesting because this completely showed what she believed in and what she was. Another aspect I would like to highlight within the personal dimension and that I absolutely think influence in her construction of the teacher identity is the vocation. I think that this huge vocation she had for her job absolutely shaped what she was, the way she taught, what she wanted to do with her students, and the concept she had about herself. Because as she knew what she wanted to do, as she had this clear idea of what she could be and what she can do during the classes and with her students, I think this absolutely had as a result what she really was. Like, I want to do this, I know that I'm perfectly capable of doing it, and I feel like this is what makes me happy, and this is what I got to do. For me, that aspect in her that it was very, very relevant during the whole movie show us what she was and was a very important part of her identity. And talking about the specific actions that can show us the construction or these elements evidence in the construction of the teacher identity are, for example, getting two jobs, um, having three jobs at a time to accomplish what you wanted to do, looking for resources when they have not resources to work with the students and to carry out her classes in favor of them, and bringing Anna's frank protector and getting the group united. Talking about the social dimension, I think that the main components that influence in the construction of her identity are first the context of her students, because it completely influenced in the way she decided to shape or to reconstruct her identity into what they needed. This time that there was a parents meeting and nobody went to that meeting, that made her like analyze what she was doing and what she needed to do with them because they had nobody else to be there. And when she had non-support from the administrative staff to carry on her plans because they just didn't care so much about them, they have like no faith on them. And even though she continue with her plans and fight for them, as I was talking earlier of her personal dimension with these activist ideas, and the lack of public policies that economically and in another way help these programs to help this context, this specific context. There was not specific policies in which he can have like a support, like I want to do this because I have economic support or even any other kind of support, and however she keep on trying. So I think these specific social elements, like my students, like the administrative staff, like the public policies that ask me to do something, but I want to do something absolutely different. The different curriculum she implemented in the classroom absolutely reshaped her identity and helped her in the construction of that current identity she needed to have in that specific moment. And also, when we talk about the concept that students and other teachers had about her and the idea they have about the ideal teacher, and this is very different from what we are used to here, because actually these kids, these guys, I think they were not expecting a teacher at all. Like they don't even have like an ideal of teacher. I want a teacher to be like this or like that, because they didn't want to be there. So maybe, or what I perceived, is that they wanted a teacher to listen to them, to comprehend their history and what they were going through, instead of a teacher that came to the classroom to teach grammar, as one of them once said. And I find this very interesting, because it is a different concept of the ideal teacher that we are used to here. I want my teacher to be perfect, to know everything about every subject. No, they just wanted a teacher to understand their lives. And this took her to shape what she was into a more flexible and empathic teacher, because she realized that her methods were not being useful for this specific context. And through reflection, because it was not at a first try, but she went through various classes until she realized that she had to reflect on what she was doing. Talking about the formative dimension, as it is in the question, we don't know too much about her initial formation to be a teacher, but I would like to highlight two important factors within this dimension that are learning about reflection, because it was through constant and hard reflection that she came to be what she is. And I know that reflection is a common factor in all dimensions, but in this specific one, I think it is the most important, because if that wouldn't be like that, she just would keep as she was going, and she feel moved by something. But these elements that happened during the movie, and that made her think like, I need to do something different. So for me, reflection here is very important, because she never stopped. She has this good self-concept, self-image about herself, and that I think they were good, because even when she felt stressed, tired, or she had no support from her partner or her husband or the administrative staff, she kept going. So I think that the most important factor here and the most relevant was the reflection she made upon these acts. And the other one that is very important for me is the competence to teach. Because, come on, this is very hard. This is for me about aptitudes more than attitude. In this case, it is something you're born with, and she absolutely had. She was such an incredible teacher. I was admired of the way she carried out these topics into the classroom in a way that, in this very, very subtle way, for them not to feel tired or bored or insecure. It was very systematic and organized, but it was cool. So I think she was really talented. And now, talking about the last question, for me, the most important happening in this movie that absolutely shaped, reconstruct, reshaped, whatever it is, her teacher identity is when this guy was killed in that store, and the other class, they came into the classroom and they did this awful drawing of their classmate, and she took this as an example to talk about the Holocaust, and none of them knew about the Holocaust. And she was like so sad, and now she was like exhausted of what everything that was going on. And from that moment, I think she absolutely changed. Like when she started to talk to them, because they were like fighting, like I have this position but I haven't even heard about yours. And she took this moment to hear to her students and to realize, consciously or unconsciously, that something needed to be changed, and that it was her, the one that needed to change. So this specific moment, for me, it was the most relevant. And talking about how she get to a more near relation with her students also, when she also get to talk to the administrative staff to be with them next years, are also very important in the process of constructing what she was and defining what she was. But for me, this specific moment, when like this I don't know, exploit into the classroom, I think it is the most important fact in her construction as a new teacher, as a person that needed to reflect on what she was, as an empathic woman, an empowered person that at the same time empowered her students. I really liked this movie, and I really like what I could see there, and how it is a teacher identity, shaped, reshaped, reconstructed, because she was always her soul, and what she was is going to be for the rest of her years. But through the whole movie, she was finding other aspects that she didn't even know she had. And this is what I think this is all about reflecting, thinking about what we are, what our students, our context need, and in that way rethink what I can be for me and for them as well.